It's funny, sometimes you set off on a journey not knowing exactly where you're going, or what you're looking for, just that you're looking. Funny too how it's often those journeys which grow in the mind afterwards, and however disturbing, keep drawing you back. India's like that for me. "20 years ago, when we were students, back in '68, many of my friends went on the hippie trail to India, looking for illumination, searching for the wisdom of the East, for a different road from what we saw as the materialism of the West. I didn't go then, and I've always regretted it. For India, they told me, changes you. To be honest, I didn't believe them then. But now, as we near the end of this century of destruction of earth and spirit, with so much of the world wounded, India still beckons. It is so vast, so varied, 800 million people, 1,500 languages, a culture 5,000 years old. It does seem to hold some secret of life. But I suppose I was setting out hoping to touch that somewhere along the way. With all the pressures of the modern world, how has India preserved itself?
I'm not quite sure, but I think I'm going to go to Delhi, Benares, Calcutta and down to the south.
And of course, in asking questions of India, we may perhaps learn something about ourselves too. This is only an impression, only one Westerner's journey, an outsider's point of view. I simply went to see. I arrived in Delhi on a Friday evening and arranged to meet an American friend at the great mosque in the old city. Jim's been coming back here for 20 years. Now he's married an Indian and lives here. His view of India is very simple.
Yeah, I like the sociability of the people. Indian people are extremely social. My son is 3 years old, and he has no doubt about the fact that he's worth something in the world and that people are around him and that they love him. And the very crowd of India is the warmth of India. And yeah, it's got problems, but there's no place in the world without problems.
But what happens when a traditional society like India modernizes? Doesn't that create conflict?
So the whole question of traditionality and fanaticism is a part of traditionality, but the whole question of traditionality is up against a McDonaldization of the world. I mean, you're going to be able to buy that hamburger everywhere.
Yeah. Even in the land of the sacred cow.
Even here. Well, that's a possibility. Yeah. Oh, they'll find the trick. It could be a goat burger.
But is there a problem now with the gap growing between the new rich and the mass of the peasantry who labor in the fields just as they've done since prehistory?
Look at the price of a house in Delhi, for example, is $250,000, and the average...
What?
Yeah. Anywhere from 200,000, 150,000 up to $250,000 easily. In Bombay, you can double it or more. And the average national income is $250 per capita. So, what extremes? We haven't anything in our culture that even begins to compare with these extremes. I think that's one of the things that makes India fascinating, don't you?
The extremes.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can say about India that's not true somewhere. Somewhere. It's the hottest. It's the coldest. It's the best. It's the worst. It's a universe in itself.
And a universe of possibilities, in gestures, stray feelings, chance meetings, imagined lives. Don't these intimate signs tell us much more about a country than a dozen news bulletins? And then, away from the warmth of the crowds around the mosque, in the chilly February avenues of New Delhi, the seat of power, it's here that the shadow of modern Indian politics falls. Another side of India, glimpsed as you head to the station to catch the night mail to Benares. It's 15 hours by train, 600 miles south of Delhi, to India's most sacred city, Benares, on the river Ganges. Home of the great god Shiva, and for me, a childhood dream of India. There can be no place on earth like Benares. Older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend. And it looks twice as old as all of them put together. It has many names, but the faithful call it Kashi, the city of light. If you want to see what religion still means in India today, it's here, everywhere around you, totally unself-conscious. They still come here in their thousands every day to worship, to bathe, to sightsee. People are cremated here, they even get married at the water's edge. At least once in a lifetime, every pious Hindu hopes to come here to wash away his sins in the waters of the Ganges. Many come permanently, renouncing material possessions to spend the end of their life, not in retirement, but in what we would consider poverty. This old man came here in the Second World War, giving up family life and a lawyer's practice in Calcutta. Every day for the past 45 years, whatever the weather, he has come down to this spot to bathe. Like many, he believes that Kashi is so holy that to die here is enough to gain salvation, and to make sure he's never even stepped out of the city in all that time.
Did not left this place. I do not know of what is outside the boundary of
Kashi. Yes.
The boundary is Varna and Asi.
So what?
I never went out.
How have you lived your life then over the 45 years? What do you do each day?
What you see, this is my daily job. This is what
you come down and bathe.
I have to bathe and give water, or pour water there and study.
In India, is it very common for men and women to give up the world and go into a religious life? This is a common thing, is it?
Yes. It is from the Lord Krishna. It is not any country except India.
Because there are ashrams, you see.
Kashi is the center of
we have got in our Vedas, it is enunciated that there are stages.
His friend then gave me a quick tutorial on the stages of life which lead you to renounce the world and become a free man.
There are 6 stages. And we are just I am in the 5th stage and he is in the 6th stage. Last stage.
So Ganganan is you are a sannyasi? No,
Yes.
In fact, they both held really good jobs. His friend, I might have guessed, had been a headmaster.
Formerly I was a headmaster and discharging my duties for 35 years. And after the passing away of my wife, I left my children what all they needed. And just now I am free. And when you have got money in your pocket, you have got worry also with you. When you are moneyless, you don't have any worry. So, Asha, that is, desire is the first enemy. Fearlessness is your first friend.
Desire the enemy? Could the secret of happiness be that simple?
Has your life been a happy life here in Kashi over the 45 years?
I never leave this Kashi. And I do not wish that never.
Happiness is different from satisfaction. Mental
It
satisfaction.
is so beautiful, it is so pleasant, it is so favorable, it is so good. I can bear my life is satisfied. I do not know what it will be after death. I achieved salvation in the living life.
In living life you achieve salvation.
Yes.
I feel a salvation while I am living. What about the death? Who knows?
Who knows indeed what happens after death? At Kashi, all you see is that the measure of your life is the weight of wood it takes to burn your body. But Hindus believe that death is not the end, that we're reborn into another life, that there is a unity of all creation to which eventually we may return. Looking at it through Western eyes, it's easy to think that this is a society trapped in the past, that here religion really is the opium of the people, a people confounded by the stresses of the modern world, finding comfort in dreams. But after a while, another thought begins to nag. Perhaps it is we in the West who have lost touch with things deep inside us, things still necessary to make us whole. We who see death as the opposite of life, where in India, death is the opposite of birth. The cremations continue on the banks of the river all day and all night. The body is reduced to a handful of ash, and the spirit is freed once more. For the crowds on the Benares waterfront, these scenes are everyday life, for they have come for darshan, to see the sacred river itself and to be purified by its water. For water is India's life, and the Ganges is the water of India. It is all India's rivers. Around it are entwined her deepest memories, her hopes and fears, her joys and her sorrows. It's hard to look on such scenes, especially for us on the outside. Our feelings of guilt make us turn away. It's a short rickshaw ride away from the river to get back to the warmth and safety of the town. There the crowds are gathering, for tonight is Shivratri, the great Hindu festival celebrating Shiva's marriage. It's Benares' biggest night of the year, and on Shivratri everything is unpredictable.
So what happens on Shivratri?
Then many kalakar, mridang player, and everybody making puja of Lord Shiva, and playing some Jamburu sound.
Now, I didn't quite catch all that, but does it matter? After all, is not this visible world of parking fines and rickshaw repayments mere Maya, illusion?
You've come for Shivratri.
Coming for Shivratri, and I'll meet you, and you आप आइए, तुलसी घाट आइए, और धा कृधान वहाँ बजाइए खूब जम के, भांग का गोला छान के.
Sounds South Indian, yeah?
On festival days, Benares shows its other side. It's a busy and expensive commercial city where the spiritual and the material go hand in hand. It's a warren of alleys full of guides, shopkeepers, landladies and con men on the lookout for wide-eyed pilgrims and tourists. And all this commerce is watched over by the patron saint of businessmen and shopkeepers, the elephant-headed Ganesh, who removes obstacles and keeps the world turning. It's almost impossible to be on your own in India. But right at the top of Benares is a 17th century observatory built by a Maharaja, like most of the great buildings along the waterfront. No one seems to come here anymore. From here, you can either gaze at the heavens or look out at the opposite bank. If you die over there, the man on the rickshaw told me, you'll come back in the next life as a donkey. Funny sense of humor, God. Here at Benares, as the sun set on the night of Shivratri, the festival of the great god Shiva, the bathers still crowded the banks, absorbed in all their different duties. Alone among them, I felt a little out of place with my doubts and my certainties. For these are people who know so clearly why they're here, bathing, doing their pujas, their worship, or simply lost in thought. The night of Shivratri, the February new moon, marks the end of winter, the coming of spring, and the beginning of the hot season. And as the crowds gathered in the heart of the labyrinth, I came face to face with the riddle of modern Indian history. Hindu, Muslim, British. How will these pasts best serve the future? And behind it all, filling the night, is still the presence of Shiva. In the heart of the alleys is an Islamic mosque built in the 17th century on the ruins of the old Hindu temple of Shiva, Lord of the Universe. All day long, the Hindu pilgrims have filed round the mosque to reach their temple, destroyed again and again by fanatical Muslim emperors, while the Indian army stands on guard against the threat of violence between Hindu and Muslim. Tonight, the pilgrims had come in their tens of thousands for darshan, to see, and I was swept along with them. It's easy to see why first impressions of India can so often repel or overwhelm. There are so many meanings, so hard to hold on to, revealing themselves only gradually. It is frightening and yet somehow familiar, disturbing yet deeply desirable, lost to us but still dimly comprehended. And all the while, mingling with the smoke of firecrackers, the smell of petrol and incense, the past seems to hang in the night, electric in the mouth. You're supposed to stay up all night on Shivratri to ward off evil spirits, but it was all too much for me. Before I fell asleep, crossing to the other shore, I remembered a story. The Hindu scriptures say that Benares is the place where creation starts each time the world is born again. They say that before creation, there was an ocean of unborn matter with neither time nor space, nor light nor dark, nor death nor immortality. Then an egg of life was conceived in the waters, and from that egg came everything. The Hindus say our reality is Maya, illusion. Even the great gods are all part of a universal consciousness, call it what you will, from which we are all made and to which all things return. An endless, unceasing flow of energy, which comes from joy, is sustained by joy, and to joy returns. Since the creation, Hindus say, there have been times when all life had a balance and a wholeness, when the oxen drew the plough and the cows gave milk, when there was plenty and the law of life, dharma, was pure. This vision of a golden age of pastoral India, many Indians still hold in their hearts today. And it is true that it is from the villages that India's creative power has come, rooted in the rich life of the soil. But in the countryside today, the story is one of change, brought by the modern world. The railways have helped create modern India, giving it a unity and a mobility it never had before. But trains go on Western tracks in Western time and slowly have eroded older lines of communication. I was on my way from Benares to Calcutta, 300 miles down the Ganges plain, when I broke my journey at Bolpur. Out here in the countryside, people's lives are still ruled more by the elements, by the gods of nature, than by Delhi. Scorched in summer, liable to flood every monsoon, the very things which bring life, the sun and the river Ganges, also bring destruction. Despite that, most Indians, over 600 million, still live in villages. So a village like Jaidev is India's roots. The road in and out of the village has brought in many new influences from the outside, and even new gods. Among them is communism. West Bengal is one of 2 Indian states run by elected communist governments who have loosened the old bonds of landlord and caste. But the basis of village life is still the extended family and traditional religion. Here in this house, everyone lives and works together. The aunts and sisters are helping make bidis, little cigarettes for sale in nearby Bolpur. In their one room, where everyone sleeps, they have the family shrine. By the wall are the stainless steel pots which have replaced the fired clay used for so long. Above are posters of the family gods. Most Indians do their daily worship, their pujas at home, and every family has its special deity. And in pride of place, in the corner, is the most expensive family possession, as it is in millions of Indian households, a hero bicycle. As for the future, with Shiva's blessing, by the time the family's newest member is 20, India's family will have over 1,500 million people. The richest house in the village has now got TV. And every Sunday, along with half the people of India, the villagers gather to watch the Ramayana, the national epic. It's a soap opera, but on a cosmic scale, nothing less than the story of the gods. Everybody knows the Ramayana. It's such a hit, there have been riots when electricity cuts have blacked out the screen. All proof, if proof is needed, of the power of the medium, but also of the continuing hold of the ancient myths. And as the Ramayana ushers the village into the electronic age, a blind Baal singer goes by, a figure from the past, who used to be the bringer of news and entertainment to the village. But as the sun sets, an older world comes back into its own, the world which existed out here before the age of television. At nightfall, out on the margin of the village, at a little tree shrine, the Baals gather to sing. Their name means the madcaps. They're outsiders, seekers of truth who reject any master, any distinction of caste or religion. Their worship is personal. They have no priests. It was one of them, Debu, who consecrated this shrine to Shiva 6 months ago on empty land. I was miles from anywhere here, and I couldn't speak the language. But it didn't need words to understand the Baals' hospitality, their strength and their sense of freedom, the continuing richness of the life of the majority of people in today's India.
Debu, is this temple site a very old? Is it a very old temple here?
পুরনো, খুবই পুরনো নাকি সত্যি তাই
অনেক
দিনকার পুরনো গো হ্যাঁ
It is very, very, very old.
So Debu explained he'd set up the shrine after Shiva, old matted hair, had come to him in a vision. True, he had only just made the shrine, but it could be thousands of years old.
I've been here for ages and ages. I've been here forever.
So how did you find this place then, Debu? Had it been forgotten as a holy place or what?
ওইটা বাবু বুঝতে পারলাম না
He didn't find it. It found him, in a sense. It had always been in him, for everywhere is sacred.
Did he come walking one day and feel the vibes?
ব্যাপার হলো কি
Anyone can create such a place, anywhere, in the office, on a train, or out in the wilds. And that's what Debu had done. Every part of creation is sacred if we choose to give it reverence.
ঠাকুর আমি বামনের ঘরে জন্ম নিয়েছি এদের আনন্দ দেখে ঠাকুর আমাকে বাউল করে দেয় আমি বাউল
Dear Lord, I was born as a Brahmin. And looking at the state of the world, please make me a baul.
Is Debu married with, and does he have children?
যে সাক্ষী ওই যে দুটো ছেলে বোটও আছে মনে হয় ওই যে
I felt as if I'd tapped a root here with Debu and his friends. Passionate, intelligent people, guarding in their hearts a kind of collective memory. I wonder what their village India will be like in 20 years' time. Perhaps they'll never need to break with their past completely as we did in the West. But the pressures on such people, economic and social, are very great. And here in West Bengal, as everywhere, the story is often one of migration to the big city. Calcutta, midnight. Coming from the station, you enter the city over an empty Howrah Bridge. Calcutta. The name conjures images of the Black Hole, Mother Teresa, millions on the streets, Kipling's City of Dreadful Night. But the night is cool and pleasant, and the city seems deserted. Driving down Strand Road, it takes a while to see. But they are there, the homeless, the sleepers. They've simply merged back into the darkness, become one with the rubble and the rubbish. Shadows in the night. Travellers who arrive late can usually find a bed in the YMCA on Chowringhee, one of those familiar arrangements left by the British. And the Shah water is still the Ganges, still the water of India, bubbling from standpipes, rivulets, sewers beneath the city. Relief to us all, whether we have a roof tonight or not. Calcutta was the first British foundation here. It's India's largest city and her richest industrially and intellectually. Politically, it's dynamite. Calcutta led the struggle against the British and has often continued it against the Nehru dynasty which followed. Now, with a communist government, it's just as forceful in its dissent. One of the most crowded places on earth, with 14 million people, Calcutta swelters in 100-degree heat in summer, in a foul climate. No wonder the prophets of doom keep expecting it to collapse into its own sewers in an orgy of plague and violence. But it's not happened. Chaotic and edgy, but vibrant and exciting, the city still manages to work. How orderly the rush hour commuters crossing the Howrah Bridge by tram and on foot, or over the Hooghly River on the crowded ferries. How patiently, too, the people on the street go about their daily rituals. Careful observances of the villages have been brought into the city, but despite their poverty, they have retained that graceful discipline of personal life. Even here, beneath the seeming chaos, there is an order and a dignity. Calcutta takes its name from Kali the Terrible, Shiva's consort. A primeval mother force, on pilgrim souvenirs, Kali stares, tongue dripping blood. The British may have fathered the city of night, but Calcutta's dog mother is Kali, and her temple is at Kalighat.
Road, and it is very near from the Ganges, and you will have to go by from this way temple, you will have to go the south near the rail bridge, and then you will have to turn right near the Ganges, then you will see the Sadhu Taracharan road, and there is a temple also there, Kali temple also over there.
Thank you very much.
And Shiva temple also.
Are you a native of this place?
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Were you born here?
Oh yes, yes, I born this place. Not only me, my father, my mother, they also born in this place. We are here last 100 years. 100 years, yeah. And we are generation by generation. We are the priest of the temple.
Oh, you're the priest?
Yes.
This is a priest of the temple?
Yeah. And, every priest, they have got a holy chain, and this is a symbol of the holy chain. This is a symbol of the holy chain.
Is it possible for me to go into the temple?
Yes, you can go. You follow him. He will show you inside the temple whatever is supposed to see there.
Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Worshipped by the 60 million people of West Bengal, Kali was a minor underworld goddess of prostitutes and bandits until the British came. Then she grew fast in popularity. This temple was built in 1809 with lavish gifts from devotees.
Puja purpose.
Yes?
Kali temple. One of the biggest temple in Bengal. Yes.
And how many people come here? Many thousands?
Yes, Purnamashi.
As always, gods rise and fall according to the needs of the time. Famine, disease, prosperity, even now TV and cinema can turn unknown gods into stars.
In the night as well?
Yeah, Kali. Kali's temple.
Around Kali's shrine, you can see lesser gods from the villages who have gathered to serve the swelling population of the city. The smallpox goddess, the snake goddess Manasa, who gives fertility and childbirth.
Now,
Yes, the baby. Sense.
What, snake?
Sunny. Baby.
What?
Mansa.
So what, women come here for...
Yes.
To ask for babies? Or,
Yes.
Yeah. And they come and they thank the snake goddess when they've had babies.
So perhaps the rise of Mother Kali herself was a first reaction by Mother India to the impact of the West, retreating to the past for fear of the present. Then Kali demanded blood sacrifice, life for life. She still does. There's a little ashram nearby where a guru lives, an ex-merchant seaman to whom the local people go for help and advice. Like many of his age, he's nostalgic for the days of British rule, for becoming independent is often a painful process as we open up the past and come to terms with what lies inside.
Just looking back at your youth, Shastri Baba, seeing that you've been to England and all that, what do you think the British left to India?
Oh, it was very nice life. It was very, very good life.
Are you serious?
Yes. Seriously, I'm telling you.
In what way?
Yes. We were better. We were much better than now.
In
we
what
were much better than now.
In
because
what way?
there was discipline. Now there is no discipline. Discipline, the word, has gone from the dictionary of India. In our boyhood, we used to go to temple, we used to go to puja mandap, every religious work we used to do. But nowadays, our people, our children, they forget that. They used to go cinema, they used to go video, they used to go TV. They have forgive and forget God. So by and by, next generation coming, maybe it destroyed,
So
abolished.
you are pessimistic about the future?
Oh yes, I'm very fear the future because one great destroy is coming. Great earthquake or flood like this, natural disturbance is coming. The very wide. Not in small, it is a very, with a vast land, it will be destroyed. Because we forgive God.
But Shastri Baba's life spans most of this century, so he can be forgiven for feeling the pace of recent change. And life still has its pleasures.
What about the other things? I mean, I've just been seeing cricket on every
Oh,
television
everything,
set. Do you like cricket?
Oh yes, everything was very jolly. Everything was very happy.
You make it sound like a golden age.
Yes, golden age.
So do you go and watch cricket?
Oh yes. I can play still now. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Are you a batsman or a bowler, Shastri
Oh,
Baba?
I was all-rounder. Bowler and batsman. Both.
So the ashram doesn't have a cricket team though, does it?
I used to play in South Calcutta Club. Still now there.
How typical of Indians that they should fall in love with a game of impenetrable rules which can last for days and end with no winner. But the British left their mark in a deeper way on the streets of India. 40 years ago, they bequeathed her the ideal of a unified state where there never was one before, a secular state. They left her the Western concept of individual freedom and the rule of law, before which the rickshaw man and the Rajah should be equal, a secular law. But the Hindu law of life, Dharma, is based on very different ideas, though no less valid, collective ones of caste, family, religion, which have sustained people even in the grinding poverty of the streets, to death and beyond. But for us in the West, there's only one life, and death is the end of it. The old British cemetery in Park Street, in the heart of Calcutta, opened in 1767. Its great pyramids and obelisks now stained black by the relentless climate. So self-important we British, weren't we? In death as in life. Here are our caste marks. Thackeray's father, sons of Captain Cook and Charles Dickens. Did we come out to India so confident in our God, our law, our idea of time and progress? How young they were, so many of our ancestors who died in Calcutta's malarial heat. I wonder if their experience of India left them still short of the end, that ours was the right and only way. Perhaps we never really understood the Indian's assertion that the one and the many are the same, part of a single unceasing stream, and that material things pass away, like the ashes and marigolds on the Hooghly River.
আজকাল দেশের খবর বিদেশের খবর আজকাল বইমেলা বিশেষ সংখ্যা আজকাল বইমেলা বিশেষ সংখ্যা সাম্প্রদায়িক আজকাল.
And so, the further you get into India, the more perplexing it gets. But Calcutta's a wonderful place to be perplexed in. The city is the centre of political and cultural debate in India. Its bars and coffee houses resound with the cut and thrust of controversy, and they're as likely to throw Shelley at you as Vivekananda or Tagore. So I made a date that night with 3 wise heads, and we all got there, despite a demonstration and the Bengali jokes about power cuts and telephones. We met at Tripti's bar over the fruit market. There was Hamdi, a famous Bengali journalist and translator, 50 years in newspapers. Deepak's at the university, and Jyoti at the back is a writer, poet, incorrigible romantic and unrepentant Anglophile. And as they say in Bengal, what Calcutta thinks today, the rest of India thinks tomorrow.
I would say that the political structure is certainly crumbling down. You find some very great changes already come over in the past 3 or 4 years. The federalistic structure is certainly about to collapse. In Punjab, in the south, in the east, the so-called Indian Union is breaking up, and I delight in the idea of breaking up.
Yes, that's true.
I would celebrate when the Indian state dissolves. Number 2, I see very great and rapid changes taking over. Not brought about by the government, not brought about by the intellectuals. It has been bottom and by the, 10 years ago, very few people would have even believed that it was possible for somebody mending shoes under the shade of the tree at the corner of the street. Even voting. Now he's not just voting, he has a transistor by his side. And maybe even in his chopri, even in his hut, he has got a TV set.
It is basically the esotericism of the people. A very, very deeply rooted esoteric language of life. And a very, very deeply rooted, which not only, as Hamdi says, that not only people who are indoctrinated or influenced by newer ideas and they are moving away from religion, but one has to understand that the marginal people in India, the people who really are at the bottom, they also don't give a shit about, about the religious dogma.
It's a very common view, especially in the West, to see India so besotted by religion, if you like, the opium of the people, that change is impossible, especially from the bottom. Now, Jyoti, what do you think about that?
This is my speculation, that like the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, India will be the least religious place in the world 10 years or 15 years from now.
I don't believe you.
I shall bring it about. All this nonsense about religion and old myths and old epics chaining down the people was just a kind of people reading a timetable at a railway waiting station. We have been waiting for the express train to arrive. for the change to come.
But has the change come, Joseph?
It will!
Yes, but where are the signs? Where are the signs?
Are there.
The signs are in the mind. The signs are not out there.
But in whose mind, Jyoti? I'm travelling through the countryside. I find it almost impossible to believe that there's been a real change for the better for the mass of the ordinary people of India over the last 40 years.
You didn't have that much time. You have noticed.
Explain the nature of the change to me.
Look at the slow rhythm of the so-called pastoral India. First of all, look at that. And look at the city rhythm. Look, we have got the metro rhythm. We have got all these things. We have got all these go fast and run and walk and all these things. But just go about 15 minutes inside Park Street, go somewhere, and see how people walk.
Deepak, you are talking Tommy. Absolute nonsense. It's not just the metro rail or Rajiv Gandhi's new technologies which is the harbinger of change.
Of course not. I'm talking about the way people are taking it easy and moving slow.
Yes. Why are they slowing down? Because like a jumper before the leap.
That's right.
Like the egg.
To tell the truth, we were all slowing down by then, because we'd had so much cheap rum. But Hamdi brought us back with a sobering thought. Money.
The point is this, up till now, people in India had no money, no cash. Now they have cash that they can spend on things. And therefore, for the first time, they are enjoying the pleasures of a material life.
Right.
And so they are taking away from it.
The pleasures of a material life. How ambiguous that phrase sounded here in Calcutta. After the bar closed, I went down to the old cobbled streets of Nimtola by the Hooghly River, where the dead are buried and the tea stalls stay open all night. There the street people make their beds along the road, melting once more back into the darkness after the long hot day. No one knows how many, but there are millions. Landless peasants fleeing from feudal oppression in Bihar, poor tribals from Orissa, their ancestral forests felled for profit. All drawn to the city of night by the promise not of the pleasures of the material life, but just to raise themselves a little, maybe only to survive. The Hindu scriptures say that we're in the last age of our time, the Kali Yuga, the age of ignorance and arrogance, when the pursuit of power and material gain will lead to the destruction of life. They say there will be an apocalyptic fire and flood, and in the end it will be the last incarnation of Vishnu, Kalki, who will come on his horse and purge away the evils of our age. And when our cycle of time is over, and the old universe destroyed, everything will return to the formless waters out of which we're all made, the ocean of creation. And Shiva will wait in the calm before the next creation to dance the new universe into existence, and the world will be born again. 2 days later, and over 1,000 miles by train from Calcutta, I reached the deep south. This is Tamil Nadu, India's holy land. It's a place where even the weighing machines look like shrines and speak like oracles. For less than a rupee, you get moral guidance, a prophecy, and the bad news about your weight. You'll find true love, cultivate clean habits. You've lost 20 pounds since Delhi. The south is Shiva's own country. To the Tamils, unlike the northerners, he's the god of love, and they portray him in one of the most poetic of all images of divine grace, Nataraja, Lord of the Dance. And Shiva's dance of bliss took place here, at Chidambaram. It's a typical dusty little southern town with a few pilgrims' hotels, 3 cinemas, and almost as many tea shops as shrines. In amongst the thatched and tiled houses are groves of coconut palms. Further out, a fertile landscape with green jungles stretching away the last 10 miles to the sea and the southern tip of India. Out of the pilgrimage season, it's a quiet place, and you may find yourself the only traveller soaking in its tropical heat. And in March, it's starting to get very, very hot.
Can I have one more dosa? One dosa and some sun. Thank you.
After the north, Tamil Nadu is a different country. For a start, the Tamils disapprove of killing any living creature, so their food is vegetarian. Here, a square meal is just a banana leaf plate and a dosa, a paper-thin rice pancake, 2 feet across, ladled with vegetables. You eat with your hands, of course, for as the Tamils say, eating with knives and forks is like making love through an interpreter. The south is often called the real India, and it is in the sense that the Tamils are the original inhabitants. They were never really touched by Islam or the British Raj, and so they're pure Indian in a way the northerners never could be with their mixture of races and religions. Down here, they've kept their ancient culture intact, and they're proud of it. The southerners are the most prolific consumers and makers of images in today's India, whether in religion or in the movies. There are more temples and cinemas down here than in the rest of India put together. And like the temples, movies are powerful shapers of ideas and have become part of the tradition. Just now, people are starting to worry about the influx of Western sex and violence films, showing images on the screen which the old guard of Indian cinema, people like the superstar politician MGR, would never have believed. But as yet, that's still a distant threat. Despite these influences, most Tamils are still resolutely traditional, like the family in Chidambaram who invited me back to their house near the temple.
How are you?
Of their 4 daughters, one's married and lives in Madras. Shanti in red will be the next to go. Their mother, Nagaratanam, is a devout follower of Shiva. Their father has lost his sight and can no longer work. The youngest daughter, Akila, is at school where she learns the ancient Tamil dance. They've the same preoccupations as most families, bringing up their children, seeing them married. But here in India, each daughter must bring a dowry with her, and that can be expensive.
We have to spend a lot of rupees to marry a doctor or engineer.
How many? How many rupees? Lakhs? Hundreds of thousands of rupees? I am very inexpensive.
Then Akila danced for me. These beautiful poses are supposed to have been danced by Shiva himself. And despite the fact that the power was off and the cassette recorder on the blink, Akila's simple grace delighted us all. Fantastic, it's beautiful. How often do you go to the temple?
4 times.
4 times? Every day?
Every day.
Every day. Morning, early morning, 6:30 puja, and then afterwards at 10:30 Rupa Darsanam. Then continuously up to 12 noon. After 6 last puja 9:30.
What do you receive from Lord Nataraj in your feelings? Can you describe?
No feelings.
No feelings.
Happier.
Tamil followers of Shiva have long believed that religion means devotion to a single god. For them, as for Nagaratnam, Chidambaram is simply the temple. Their poets have sung its fame since the 7th century. It's built on a gigantic scale, dominating the town which clusters around it, and the first approach is unforgettable. Places like this were never just temples. They have been guardians of Tamil culture, centers of philosophy, literature, and art. That day, by sheer chance, the Brahmins were singing the hymn to Shiva, which is the most ancient in Indian religion. For 3,000 years, these words were transmitted orally, for they were sacred in themselves, and only Brahmins could memorize them. They ask Shiva to drive away hatred and let us be born again through our children. The sacrifice here, unlike Calcutta, is vegetable, coconut milk, a simple symbol like the Christian sacrament. Food touched by God is partaken by the worshippers. Entering the temple, for me, was an astonishing and timeless experience. Its halls, cool and mysterious, wafted with incense. The temple's run by an ancient community of priests who have preserved the rituals of the Hindu way of life over the centuries. For them, Shiva is both male and female, and to express that balance, they wear their hair as half man, half woman. How old is the temple, Raja?
Nobody knows the origin of the temple.
Yeah, but all these halls and corridors are how old?
Roughly 1,000 years.
1,000 years old. Amazing. And what about the priests who run the temple? Because they are unique in India,
Really
I think, aren't they?
Really. It's the exclusive community called the Dikshitas.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came, according to the Puranas, they came along with Shiva as old as 3,000.
And how many are there today?
Now roughly 1,000 members, but 300 priests.
Yes. What do you have to be in order to be a priest? Are you all married or what?
First eligibility to become a priest, we have to marry.
You have to marry?
First eligibility.
So you can't perform the rituals unless you're married? So even the young men who we see are
who have
married?
6 strings as a thread, it means they are married.
Yeah. Who have the what?
They have 6 strings.
The 6 strings? Yeah.
It means they are married.
Yeah.
If it is 3, they are bachelors.
It
means it's 6 means 6 duties of a Brahmin.
So this is the Brahmin string, but
It's special.
I see. And how long have you been here?
I actually started my priestly life after my education.
Yeah.
Like from 68 onwards.
From 68 onwards, 20 years, yeah. So we were the same generation, both children of 68. He was the first of his family to see Europe, and I the first of mine to see India. And when he goes home, he listens on his Walkman to Paul Simon and reads Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Raja left me with this piece of ancient wisdom. The body is the bike, the soul the driver. Chidambaram, they say, means the place of the heart. And it feels at the heart of things here, in the middle of this beautiful and tranquil landscape, stretching out to the blue horizon where the land meets the sea. Fragile harmony between human beings and nature, between the senses and the spirit. No doubt in the end, everyone finds his or her own India. And this was mine. After the 2,000-mile journey, with its splendors and miseries, it came down to this fine point. Back down to earth, in the bustle of the town, you ask yourself, can this way of life really survive the onrush of the modern world, even here in Chidambaram? At the tea stall near the temple, a journalist friend gave me a last clue. Is religion still a driving force in people's lives?
I think it's really here to stay. But whether it's going to be such a strong driving force in the future, I really think depends on economic growth, economic development.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
When we were students 20 years ago, we tended to think that the West had taken a very materialist path and had separated the rational life from the emotional life. And in India, we saw something where perhaps those worlds still cohere. Am I being terrible romantic to think that, or do you think that is true of India?
No, I don't think so, but I think India will also change as progress comes. It will be inevitable one day.
Is that a good thing? Do you think the material life of the people counts more than religion?
No, I don't think so, but I think in India a balance would always remain.
Will a balance always remain? It was Gandhi who said that politics and the life of the spirit are inseparable. Gandhi also urged India to choose carefully when she modernized, to take from the West only what served her interests, and not to go against her long-proved ways of doing things, her mistrust of the material life, her balance between the practical and the spiritual, her energy and tolerance. And so it may still turn out to be. For in all these repeated rhythms of action, this dance of life on the streets, isn't there some clue to the essential spirit of India, which has been able to absorb all change and still somehow, as if by magic, remain the same? Preserving herself. At 10 o'clock, the crowds leave the cinema and the faithful enter the temple for the last puja of the day. The cycle of life in Chidambaram goes on, still in harmony with its past. The worshippers have come once more to stand in the sight of God, to merge for that moment with the unity of creation. They have come for darshan, and I simply came to see.